Good morning. Today is TryHard Reading Quarter episode. I'm gonna do this wrong. I've run out of fingers. 16? I'm like probably doing this in the most non-helpful way. And it probably is looking like 61. So either 61 or 16, you decide. I need to figure out, I know sign language, but I don't know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, is it 15? Here, this is 16. We're on episode 16. Look at that. My sign language teacher would be proud. I take sign language. Did you know that? Fun fact you didn't know about me. So today's episode 16. I have added some earthwork. It doesn't really make sense unless you're one of my cathedral students, right? But that's my deer sign. Hopefully you saw Mrs. Brilliant's really cool picture collage we made for you. I worked many moons on this. This is the trick I did. It doesn't look like, the Mona Lisa, I know. But doing all those tracings did take time, and I never once repeated a color. That was probably the hardest thing, is not repeating a color. But when I was done with it, I'm like, I'm not just gonna throw it away. I'll put it on the reading corner. So there you go. It says deer because I started the whole deer cathedral, and it was a really fun project. All the teachers were so excited to do, so it was really fun. Today I have a story, and the story is recent. It is from this quarantine, so that's fun. And I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but if it was a good idea what I did, but I'm gonna tell it. So last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I guess, my housemates and I were stir crazy. It was the week where, like, Friday it was snowing, and everybody's like, I have a sunburn, how is it snowing? Only in Nebraska, right? And so Saturday was just kind of cold and dreary, and we weren't able to like really get out or do anything. And so Saturday we were like making these plans, and we were like, we need to do something, we need to be active. I'm going crazy, I hate these four walls, natural quarantine feelings. And one of my friends was like, or one of my friends still has to work, and they work a ways away. It's not close, it's not 2 blocks. And one of my housemates was like, what if we walk them to work? Like, we want to walk long distances, it'd be fun. What if we walk them to work? And so at first, obviously, I'm skeptical because I know my limits, and I'm not useless. This is the thing, as an athlete, which that is a very generous term describing me, I surprised myself many a times. Like, there was one time, and granted it was in high school, so I was a lot more fit than I am now. In high school, my family signed up for the half marathon, and then I completely forgot. Like, the night before, my family like came to our house to stay the night before, and I was like, what are you guys doing here? They're like, the half marathon's tomorrow. I'm like, oh, good for you. And they're like, no, what about you? And so I forgot about it. I completely forgot about it. So next morning I woke up at like 6 a.m. and ran a half marathon. I did not train, but you know what? Like, my time wasn't horrible, and I finished. That was a big challenge. But did I walk normal for 2 weeks after that? No, I did not. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna. Okay, so back to my story. So I'm not gonna do something I'm gonna regret. And I looked it up, and it said that the place where they work was 5.3 miles. Now, walking, I could do that. I gotta set my pace, like, it's chill. If you asked me to run 5 miles like that, I probably would be panicked a little bit more. I can run like 2 or 3. I'll be in pain, but I can run 2 or 3. But 5 is like, ugh. They're like, we're just gonna be walking. It's gonna be so much fun. So I was like, you know what? What else am I gonna do? I'm sick of this house. It'll be good for me. I'll feel like I accomplished something cool. So we do it. We wake up. We watch Mass, and then we get started. And because it's a Sunday, this day. And so we're walking, and it's like kind of actually like chilly and out and stuff, but like it was fun. Like we were looking and we're seeing things, and we're walking, and finally I'm literally walking by the Memorial Stadium, and I live around Cathedral, so just so you understand distance wise. And I'm like, are we getting close? And they're like, oh, like this is the halfway mark. The halfway mark? So we keep walking, and it was fun. We got to see a lot of things, saw a lot of ducks. That was great. A lot of squirrels, obviously. I've told you about this. But it was good. It was a fun little nature walk, kind of. But the thing I did not think about was when I searched the distance and it said 5.3 miles, it meant in a vehicle. Because I think we had to cross the highway or the interstate. We had to cross a very busy road that was not legal to cross. And so because we couldn't cross it, we had to take all these like winding bike paths. And when we did the math, it was about added 2 miles to our trip, okay? So I thought it would take us 5 miles to get there. When we got to like a drop-off point, we didn't even walk them all the way to work. We were at 7 miles. Now, this is the silly part about this journey is they probably did because they're very smart people, but I did not really fully understand like how big of a commitment this was because like my housemate went to work, we had to turn around and go start walking again. And especially with the quarantine and stuff, it's not like you're gonna call somebody to pick you up if you don't want to do it. So like if you want to force yourself to work out, I guess, you know, taking your parents on a long walk, and I mean, you can't call other people because you got a social distance. I mean, yeah, so we were trapped. I felt I was trapped. They thought they were on a nature walk. So we're walking our route back, and then the sun comes out. It's gorgeous. I love it. And the way back was better. I almost got like a second wind because the sun was out and like nature was beautiful and ducks and stuff. Saw a lot of geese. I'm scared of geese. Geese can hiss. Have you heard of that? A bird hissing? That's not right. I don't like that. I have also, as a child, been chased by geese. Maybe I deserved it, but there were definitely times where I did not deserve it. But geese can hiss, and geese can like charge at you or run, and they are fast. They're not little, those big birds are fast. So, saw a lot of geese, avoided a lot of geese, and then we got to a point where we were maybe like mile 8, mile 9, where I came to the realization that if I stopped moving, my feet were in pain. So like whenever we had to stop to cross the street, I like just kept like bouncing and moving because my feet hurt so bad. But I was almost to the point of like a wind up toy where like as long as I was still wound and I kept marching, like I would just keep marching and it would be fine and I'd somehow make it home. So we're doing this, and it got to like mile 8 or 9 as we were dying. We weren't dying, I was dying. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna dance my way home. And so I cranked up some music and I would just like skip and glide and dance a little bit as I'm walking. Okay, walk check-in. Where are we at? 8.79 miles. Now we have resorted to dancing our way back home. We're gonna die out here. Woo! So that's the real thing. Here we go. And people were staring and their dogs were staring and I was dancing because I had to keep moving. I could not stop, but also like this is taking us it was a jaunt. So we kept dancing and gliding and going, and it was really cool though because like we saw a lot of stained glass windows, we saw a lot of sidewalk things, we saw cute little families hanging out and having fun, and the sun was out. That was great. And then on our way back, I even stopped at St. T's and I got me some palms for Palm Sunday, which is fun because I was worried I wasn't gonna be able to get those, but they like had a nice little drop-off spots that you could get. Catholic update, we got palms! God bless you, St. T's. I'm so happy because this week I'm almost home. And then when I got home, also we made our journey, we started at 10:30, got back at 2:30. That's pretty impressive. And my friends have smartwatches and they were tracking us. We walked 14 miles. That is more than a half marathon. Yes, it's only 0.5 more, but that is more. And I was just like, we did a thing. Wow. And when we got there, my face is beet red. And this is the hard part with Miss Johnson. Whenever I do physical activity, my face turns beet red. And so all the times people are like, are you breathing? Are you alive? And then I have to respond, yeah, it's just my face. It's just my genetics. All my family, that's what we deal with. And so when I get home, I'm like, oh yeah, it's beet red. I've walked like 14 miles. I'm such a tryhard. And then I plank the floor basically for a good while. And then I get up and I look in the mirror and my face is still beet red. Miss Johnson forgot like the golden rule of like going outside is like sunscreen. So my face was burnt, and then like the like next 4 days, all of my housemates, we just walk like old ladies where we hold our back and we kind of tiptoe and we creak and we limp a little bit. And so it's been fun. I feel like an old lady walking around, but I did something, right? I did something. That's cool. So if you want to go for a walk, number 1, sunscreen. Number 2, parent supervision. And number 3, it will be an adventure, because mine was too. There wasn't like some big eventful part of the story, so I apologize if you're like, that was silly and boring. But Miss Johnson walked 14 miles and I really thought I was only gonna walk like 10. Think about that, adding 4 miles to your journey. But it was good, it was good. I did feel like I did my things for Sunday. And so like when I sat on the couch, I didn't feel guilty of like, here I am sitting on the couch, day 12, you know, I did a thing, and my calves are made out of steel now. I think they're bulletproof. They're just, they're toned. So that was fun. That was a journey. Yeah. I tried to find a book about somebody running or walking because I thought that would be like a funny theme pull, and I couldn't find one. So I saw something that said hero, and I'm just going to call myself a hero for making myself walk 14. It makes no sense. When does any of my stories make sense? But this is a book my grandma gave me. The trampoline grandma, the one that I got clothespined in her backyard. She gave this to me for my birth, 1995. So this book is 20, how old am I? 4, I forgot how old I was. 24 years old. And I love this book. I love the pictures. And this one looks funny, and so I'm going to... Oh, it's a real story. That's fun. There's a book with, so it's a book with a lot of little stories, so we're only gonna read one little story because I know my limits, and I know yours too. So let's do this. The Little Hero of Holland. Here is the true story of a brave heart who's willing to hold on as long as it takes to get the job done. That's kind of like me when I was walking. I could see this as a theme. We'll see. Holland is a country where much of the land lies below sea level. Only great walls called dikes keep the North Sea from rushing in and flooding the land. For centuries, the people of Holland have worked to keep the walls strong so that their children would be safe and dry. Even the little children know that the walls must be watched every moment, and that a hole no larger than your finger could be a very dangerous thing. Many years ago, there lived in Holland a boy named Peter. Peter's father was one of the men who tended to the gates of the walls. He opened and closed the gates so that ships could pass out of Holland's canals into the Great Sea. One afternoon in the early fall, when Peter was 8 years old, his mother called for him his play. Come, Peter, she said, I want you to walk across the walls and take these cakes to your friend, the blind man. If you go quickly and do not stop to play, you'll be home before dark. The little boy was glad to go on such an errand and started off with a light heart. So he's on a walk. This is perfect. He stayed with the poor blind man for a little while to tell him about his walk along the wall and about the sun and the flowers and the ships far off the sea. And then he remembered his mother's wish that he'd be returned home before dark, and bidding his friend goodbye, and he set out for home. Okay, so here's the pictures. They're kind of like baby pictures along the words. But Peter's the little guy in the blue. I love his little, oh my goodness, are they clogs? I want to own clogs. But like clogs are made out of wood, so part of me is like, how do you not have like so many slivers? Random thought. As he walked beside the canal, he noticed how the rain had swollen the waters and how they beat against the sides of the wall, and he thought of his father's gates. I'm glad they are so strong, he said to himself. If they gave way, What would have become of us? These pretty fields would be covered with water. Father always calls them the angry waters. I suppose he thinks they are angry at him for keeping them out so long. As he walked along, he sometimes stopped to pick up pretty blue flowers that grew beside the road, or listen to the rabbits' soft tread as they rustled through the grass. But more often he smiled as he thought of his visit to the poor old man, or the poor blind man, who had so few pleasures and was also so glad to see him. Suddenly he noticed the sun was setting, and that it was growing very dark. Mother will be watching for me, he thought, and he began to run towards home. Then he heard a noise. It was the sound of trickling water. He stopped and looked down, and there was a small hole in the wall, through which a tiny stream was flowing. Any child in Holland is frightened at the thought of a leak in the wall. Peter understood the danger at once. If the water ran through the little hole, it would soon make a larger one, and the whole country would be flooded. In a moment, he saw what he had to do. Throwing away his flowers, he climbed down the side of the wall and thrust his finger into the tiny hole in the wall. Oh my goodness, what an adventure. So here he is smelling and picking flowers, and then there's the crack. Bum, bum, bum. Whatever shall he do? The whole country will be flooded. The drama. His finger had stopped the flowing water out of the hole. Oh ho, he said to himself, the angry waters must stay back now. I can keep them back with my finger. Holland will not be drowned so long as I am here. This was all very well for sure, but it soon grew dark and cold. The little fellow shouted and screamed, come here, he called, but no one heard him. No one came to help him. It grew still colder, and his arms ached and began to grow stiff and numb, and he shouted again, will no one come? Mother, mother! But his mother was looking anxiously along the wall roads many times since sunset for her little boy. And now she had closed and locked the cottage door, thinking that Peter was spending the night with his friend, and that she would scold him in the morning for staying away from home without her permission. Peter tried to whistle, but his teeth chattered from the cold. He thought of his brother and his sister in their warm beds, and his dear father and mother. I must not let them be drowned, he thought. I must stay here until someone comes, if I have to stay all night. The moon and stars looked down on the child crouching on the stone and the side of the wall. His head was bent, his eyes were closed, but he could not sleep, for every now and then he rubbed his hand that was holding back the angry sea. I'll stand it somehow, he thought. He stayed there all night, keeping the water out. Early the next morning, a man going to work thought he heard a groan and walked along the top of the wall. Looking over the edge, he saw a child clinging to the side of the great wall. What is the matter? He called. Are you hurt? I'm keeping the water back, Peter yelled. Tell them to come quickly. Oh my goodness, the drama. The alarm was spread, and people came running with shovels, and the hole was soon mended. They carried Peter home to his arms, and before the whole town knew how he had saved their lives that night. To this day, they have never forgotten the brave little hero of Holland. Oh, look at him. He did a good thing. That's cute. I forgot about this. This is the thing. This is a very wordy child's book, and I would just look at the pictures all the time. So honestly, I bet you this is only one of the first or second times I truly read that story. But that was cute. He was going for a walk like me. He saved a city, which I did not do. But he did the right thing, which is cool. I did not do the right thing. I needed sunscreen. The parallels are basically that he went for a walk. Okay, I'm grasping at straws, but also know I have a very limited amount of resources and books in my basement, in my house. But I hope you enjoyed this strange story, weird episode, whatever I'm doing. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're happy. I hope you're working hard. I miss you. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm praying for you. Enjoy that good weather. Stay outside. Stay active. It'll make you happy. And if it doesn't make you happy, it makes for a great story. Love you guys. Take care.